Hi viewers, welcome back to the channel. This video is the fifth and final company-specific analysis in my ongoing series on India's solar module manufacturing sector, a sector that I believe could become one of the most important manufacturing opportunities of this decade. Over the last few weeks, we have taken a deep dive into EMMVEE Photovoltaic, Premier Energies, Vikram Solar, and Vari Energies. Together, those companies represent some of the biggest beneficiaries of India's push towards energy security, import substitution, domestic manufacturing, and renewable energy expansion. If you haven't watched those videos yet, I would strongly recommend doing so because each company occupies a different position within the solar value chain, and understanding those differences is critical before making any investment decision. You will find links to all those videos in the description below. And once we complete today's analysis, I'll be publishing a comprehensive comparison video where we will evaluate all five companies side by side across manufacturing capacity, financial performance, profitability, valuation, risks, and long-term investment potential. The goal is simple: to identify which of these solar companies offers the best risk-reward opportunity over the next several years. So if you are interested in deep, research-driven stock analysis, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you don't miss that comparison video. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This video is intended solely for educational and informational purposes. I am not a SEBI registered investment advisor. Please conduct your own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Now let's talk about today's company. A company that more than doubled its revenue in a single year. A company whose profits increased by over 60%. A company sitting on a nearly 6 gigawatt order book. And a company that is attempting one of the most ambitious backward integration plans among emerging solar manufacturers in India. And yet, despite all that growth, the market remains unconvinced. Why? Because one quarter changed the narrative. In Q4 FY26, revenue surged 75%, but profit declined 36%. Margins collapsed, and investors suddenly started asking a very important question. Is Saatvik Green Energy an overlooked opportunity before the next phase of growth begins? Or is the market correctly pricing in risks that many investors are ignoring? Let's find out. Over the last four videos, we've already discussed the broader opportunity emerging in India's solar manufacturing sector. So rather than repeating that story again, let's focus on Saatvik itself. Saatvik Green Energy was incorporated in 2015 and listed on the Indian stock exchanges in September 2025. For much of its history, the company operated quietly outside the spotlight. But over the last few years, it has grown rapidly and emerged as one of the more closely watched names in India's renewable energy manufacturing space. At its core, Saatvik is a solar photovoltaic module manufacturer. In simple terms, the company manufactures solar panels used in utility-scale solar projects, commercial installations, and rooftop systems. However, the business extends beyond module manufacturing. The company also undertakes EPC projects, meaning it participates in engineering, procurement, and construction activities across the solar value chain. Saatvik is also approved under the government's ALMM framework, which enables participation in large government and public sector solar projects. Another important aspect of the business is its focus on N-type TOPCon technology. The solar industry is gradually shifting away from older PERC technology toward higher efficiency TOPCon modules. This transition is important because higher efficiency products typically command better market acceptance and improve long-term competitiveness. As of March 2026, Saatvik had an operational module manufacturing capacity of approximately 3.8 gigawatts. During FY26, the company produced more than 3.1 gigawatts of modules while maintaining capacity utilization of approximately 84%. That number is worth noting because it tells us that existing facilities are already being utilized effectively. This isn't a case where management is sitting on large amounts of idle capacity waiting for demand. The existing manufacturing base is already operating at relatively high utilization levels. And that means future growth will increasingly depend on expansion rather than simply better utilization. The company also ended FY26 with an order book of approximately 5.89 gigawatts. To put that into perspective, the order book represents roughly 1.8 years of production based on the current manufacturing run rate. That provides meaningful revenue visibility. But here's the important point. The investment case for Saatvik is not really about the 3.8 gigawatts of capacity it operates today. It's about the capacities it intends to build tomorrow. And to understand that, we first need to look at the financial performance. Let's start with the headline numbers. FY26 was a record year for Saatvik Green Energy. Revenue from operations increased from 2,158 crore rupees in FY25 to 4,548 crore rupees in FY26. That's growth of 111%. The company more than doubled its revenue in just 1 year. EBITDA increased 62% to 581 crore rupees. Profit after tax rose 64% to 357 crore rupees. And earnings per share increased from 19 rupees and 40 paise to 29 rupees and 83 paise. Operationally, FY26 was also the strongest year in the company's history. Production crossed 3.1 gigawatts. Capacity utilization remained high, and the order book continued to expand. In isolation, these numbers paint a very positive picture. But investors were not focused on the full year. They were focused on the final quarter. And that's where things became more complicated. Revenue in Q4 FY26 increased 75% year-on-year to 1,608 crore rupees. At first glance, that looks excellent. But then you look at profitability. Profit after tax fell 36%. EBITDA declined by more than 30%. And EBITDA margin collapsed from 17.1% in the corresponding quarter last year to just 6.7%. Think about that. Revenue was growing rapidly, but profitability was moving in the opposite direction. Naturally, investors became concerned. Management attributed the decline to three major factors: higher raw material costs, rupee depreciation, and elevated freight expenses caused by global shipping disruptions. In simple terms, the company faced rising input costs while simultaneously dealing with pressure across logistics and imports. The key question is whether these pressures are temporary or structural, because the answer to that question will determine the future valuation of the company. And according to management, the answer lies in backward integration. After listening to the earnings call, I believe there were four major takeaways investors should focus on. The first takeaway is that management considers the Q4 margin pressure temporary rather than structural. They believe the majority of the pressures were external in nature and not indicative of a deterioration in the underlying business. The second takeaway is that margin recovery is expected to begin once internal cell manufacturing starts. Management indicated that backward integration into solar cells could improve EBITDA margins by approximately 4 to 5 percentage points. That is a very significant number. The third takeaway is that demand remains strong. The company ended the year with an order book of 5.89 gigawatts, providing visibility for future growth. And the fourth takeaway is that the expansion program remains on track. The Odisha project continues to be the centerpiece of the company's growth strategy. And that brings us to the most important section of this entire video. If there is one section of this video that investors should pay close attention to, it is this one. Because the future of Saatvik depends largely on what happens here. Today, Saatvik primarily purchases solar cells from external suppliers and assembles them into modules. That approach works, but it comes with disadvantages. The company remains exposed to imported components. it remains exposed to supply chain disruptions, and it remains exposed to fluctuations in cell prices. Management wants to change that. The Odisha expansion project is designed to transform Saatvik from a module manufacturer into a more integrated solar manufacturing company. The first phase includes a 2.4 gigawatt solar cell manufacturing line expected to commence operations in H2F Y27. Ultimately, management intends to build approximately 6 gigawatts of cell manufacturing capacity. Why does this matter? Because solar cells represent one of the most important value-added stages in the manufacturing process. The more value a company captures internally, the greater its ability to control costs and protect margins. Management believes that internal cell production can improve EBITDA margins by roughly 4 to 5 percentage points. That may not sound dramatic, but in manufacturing, a 4 to 5 percentage point increase in EBITDA margin can completely transform profitability. Let's use a simple example. FY26 EBITDA margin was approximately 12.8%. If successful backward integration pushes margins closer to 17% or 18%, the impact on earnings could be substantial. And that's why investors are watching the Odisha project so closely, because it has the potential to change the economics of the business. The market isn't really waiting for more revenue growth. The market is waiting for evidence that margin expansion is actually happening. Now let's move from the present to the future, because management's ambitions extend far beyond modules and cells. During the earnings call and investor communications, management outlined a vision that spans multiple business verticals. These include solar modules, solar cells, encapsulants, transformers through the Melcon acquisition, battery energy storage systems, inverters, EPC services, and eventually ingot and wafer manufacturing. The objective is clear: move deeper into the value chain, reduce dependence on imported components, capture a larger share of industry economics, and build a more integrated clean energy manufacturing platform. But let's take this one step further. What could Saatvik look like 3 years from now if management executes successfully? Let's begin with revenue. Revenue increased from 609 crore rupees in FY23 to 4,548 crore rupees in FY26. Clearly, that pace cannot continue indefinitely. So let's assume growth moderates significantly. Suppose revenue grows by approximately 35% in FY27, 30% in FY28, and 25% in FY29. Under those assumptions, revenue could potentially approach 10,000 crore rupees by FY29. Now let's consider margins. FY26 EBITDA margin was approximately 12.8%. Management believes cell integration could improve margins by 4 to 5 percentage points. If that happens gradually, EBITDA margins could potentially move toward the 16% to 17% range over the next few years. In that scenario, profit growth could outpace revenue growth. Current EPS stands at approximately 28 rupees. A successful execution scenario could potentially see earnings per share move into the 70 to 85 rupees range by FY29, assuming there is no significant equity dilution. Now let's talk valuation. Today, the stock trades at roughly 14 times earnings. Let's assume the market remains cautious and assigns a multiple of just 15 times future earnings. Using an EPS range of 70 rupees to 85 rupees, that could imply a valuation range between approximately 1,050 rupees and 1,275 rupees per share. Of course, this is not a forecast. It is not a target, and actual results could differ significantly. But what this exercise demonstrates is the power of successful execution. The real opportunity in Saatvik is not current earnings. It is the possibility that backward integration significantly changes future earnings. And that is ultimately what investors are betting on. However, there is another side to the story. Growth requires capital, and Saatvik's ambitions are enormous. Management has guided for approximately 1,700 crore rupees of capital expenditure during FY27. A further 1,800 crore to 2,000 crore rupees could be invested during FY28 as the company moves deeper into cells, ingots, and wafers. Put together, we are talking about nearly 3,500 crore rupees to 4,000 crore rupees of investment over the next 2 years. For a company with a market capitalization of roughly 5,000 crore rupees, that is a substantial commitment. Management has indicated that debt levels will increase during the expansion phase while targeting a debt to equity ratio broadly within the 1 to 1.5 times range. This means investors should expect higher leverage, potentially higher interest costs, and the possibility of future equity dilution if additional capital becomes necessary. This is perhaps the biggest risk facing the investment thesis. The opportunity is enormous, but so are the funding requirements. Before we move to the final verdict, let's discuss the major risks. The first risk is margin recovery. The investment thesis assumes that profitability improves after cell integration. If margins fail to recover, future earnings may disappoint. The second risk is execution. The Odisha project is central to the company's plans. Any significant delays could push back the expected benefits of backward integration. The third risk is funding. Large expansion programs require large amounts of capital. Rising debt levels and possible dilution remain important considerations. And the fourth risk is policy and industry risk. Like all solar manufacturers, Saatvik operates within a sector influenced by government policy, import duties, and industry regulations. Changes in these areas can impact profitability and competitiveness. So, where do I stand? I believe Saatvik Green Energy is one of the most interesting transformation stories currently unfolding in India's solar manufacturing sector. The company has demonstrated exceptional revenue growth. It has built a meaningful order book, and it has a clearly identifiable catalyst in the form of backward integration. At the same time, investors should not ignore the warning signs. Q4 margins were weak. The expansion program is ambitious, and the funding requirements are substantial. The investment case for Saatvik is not about what the company is today. It is about what the company could become after successful execution of its integration strategy. If management delivers on its cell manufacturing roadmap, improves margins, and successfully funds expansion without excessive dilution, the company could look very different 3 years from now. But if execution slips, the market's current skepticism may prove justified. For aggressive investors with a long-term horizon, Saatvik deserves serious attention. For conservative investors, waiting for evidence of margin recovery may be the more prudent approach. Either way, the next 12 to 24 months will be crucial because they will determine whether Saatvik evolves into a fully integrated solar manufacturing platform or remains simply a fast-growing module manufacturer. And with that, we conclude the final company-specific analysis in our solar manufacturing series. In the next video, we will bring together all 5 companies we have covered and compare them side by side to determine which solar stock offers the most compelling combination of growth, quality, valuation, and long-term potential. If you found this analysis useful, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with fellow investors. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.